everyone. Welcome back to I'm Not Your Superwoman. We are here for another session of conversation about the Black woman, about breast cancer, and about dropping the strong Black woman complex and what does that mean for us. I'm honored to be a part of this space again with some top-notch, incredible women. It's such a privilege to be here for these past 2 weeks. So first, I'm going to introduce the co-founder of Carrie's Touch, as well as an amazing woman, a breast cancer survivor of 16 years, Reverend Tammie Denyse. How are you feeling, Tammie?
Hey. I am feeling a lot better than I did last week. I am grateful to be here. Looking forward to this conversation. Looking forward to introducing our guest to our Facebook family.
Nice. Well, it's so good to see you. You're looking lovely. I'm loving your hair and your glasses. Yes.
Thank you. And how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm actually having a pretty good Wednesday. It's been busy, but it's been nice. And I just want to bring in our third amazing guest, Miss Kimberly Martin, who is a PhD student at UCLA. Welcome, Kimberly. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. How are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good.
Good.
Half the week is over. We're all making it.
Yeah, we're all making it. I think it's so important that we check in, even as we're doing these live things. It's important to be like, "You all right? You doing okay?
Sis, you good, sis?"
Yeah, it's good to ask. It's good to check in. So I'm glad everyone's doing good. I'm glad everyone's feeling lovely. I just want to go ahead and jump in. We're going to be talking about all this going into December. We're going to be discussing Project SOAR, which is this incredible program that is being done by Carrie's Touch as well as UCLA, this incredible research project, and we're in phase 2. So we did talk about it a bit last week. We're going to unpack it again just for people who didn't, people who weren't here last week. We're going to get just kind of an overview of what Project SOAR is and its importance and relevance to Black women, particularly Black women breast cancer survivors. But before we get into that, I just wanted to do a warm-up question with Tammie and Kimberly, as I have noticed you were both Black women.
Yes, God, yes.
I didn't want to call it out and put you on Front Street, but I did notice that you were both Black. And I wanted to ask you, what has been your relationship with vulnerability? And has it helped you? Has it hindered you? Has it been a mixed bag? And either one of you can go first. I'm fine with it.
Kim, since you're our guest, please.
Please be on the spot.
please, have at it.
Sure. Okay. So when you first said that question, the first thing that popped into my mind was my auntie, actually, who I'm named after, my auntie Kim. She was one of my primary caretakers, and she passed away when I was 16. And she was chronically ill throughout her whole life and throughout my whole life. And I saw her, in and out of the hospital and things such as that. And when you mentioned being vulnerable as a Black woman, she popped into my mind. So I feel like I had beautiful examples growing up of strength and vulnerability. I think specifically of my auntie as an example, because she certainly, I saw her battle different diseases and, and had so much faith every single time, was just like, I don't care what those doctors are saying, I'm good. And was like so faithful with that. But she also didn't sugarcoat things. She was very honest and open with me in a way that I value and reflect on so much now as an adult, and think wow, we really used to just be sitting up in the living room, just talking about really deep stuff. And she would never say why would you say that? Or that's disrespectful. She was like, that's right. That's how you feel. So get it out, and let's talk about it. And so that's what I think of with vulnerability, just being able to be real and acknowledging feelings in a way that, and sometimes it can take that safety, like family, maybe to feel, at least in my experience, to feel okay enough to really, you know, take off the layers sometimes, or even to realize that you have layers on. Yeah. And to say like, and to have people that are going to, you know, when you say like, this happened and this was terrible and I'm angry for the feedback, not to be like, what? Maybe that didn't happen. Maybe you're misinterpreting. Maybe that's not how you should feel. But to have people that say, that's right, and I'm mad too, you know, like it's really validating and really important. So that's, I think, in my own journey of vulnerability, thinking back on the examples that I have, and then wanting to always think about, especially in you know, my work and the spaces I'm moving in now, but just throughout my life, how to create space that allows people to be their true and authentic selves, to not think, oh, when I come here, I have to put this mask on, I have to put this face on. And I feel like for me, just to bring Project SOAR right in, has been such a beautiful example for me as a growing academic as to like how to create beautifully safe spaces for people to be their authentic selves.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
That's good. Good. Oh, so I guess it's my turn. Yeah. So one of the reasons that I passed it off to Kim first is because I think, you know, the first thing that came to my head was something that I was like, okay, I got to process and I got to check in with myself about how vulnerable I am going to be on this Facebook Live as we talk about vulnerability. So for me, for whatever reason, God has put me in God has designed my life to where I've had to ask for help. And it takes vulnerability to go and share something that most of us are very private about, our needs, with someone that you don't know how they're going to respond. You don't know whether or not they're going to judge you, laugh at you, turn you down, and what all of that really, really looks like. And so when I've been in situations throughout my entire life of being in a place of need, I have found myself in vulnerable positions more often than not. However, when I come to this phase in my life, what I can say is, because I have had multiple experiences, you know, being vulnerable, I am able to create space that allows people to feel comfortable being vulnerable because I have been there. And so it works in a way that, you know, it's even with my kids, as you were talking about your Auntie Kim, I thought about my daughter. And so, you know, when you have kids, kids are kids, and then kids grow up, and then they grow to a place where you kind of have these adult kids and you're having adult conversations. And I will never forget that when my daughter was in high school, she had told someone, I can't talk to my mom because she just wouldn't understand. And I had to take my vulnerability to my own daughter to show her that I am human and that she can be open and trust me with her most vulnerable places and spaces. So that's what I think about, you know, in being vulnerable. And then if I do it, like Kim said, you know, do that lateral into Project SOAR, it is so humbling to have women share from such a place of vulnerability, and to be able to, that trusted place that they felt comfortable to say things that they've never said to anyone else before.
Yeah. So let's segue that. Those are both beautiful answers. And I do think that you both, from your expertise and the things that you've had in your life, you were able to create a space, right, where women feel comfortable sharing. So I want to talk about that space. I want to talk about Project SOAR and the gatherings. And what was that like? We heard from Tammie last week about being in that space and her doing that work. And but Kimberly, you walking into that space as a Black woman, what was that like for you, entering those gatherings and having those conversations with Black women?
May I just jump in really quickly?
Yeah.
Kim, as you answer that question, I would encourage you to talk about coming into the Project SOAR team space before you went into the gathering, and then into the gathering.
Okay.
Because it's critical, you know, when we look at our team and our structure as a team.
Yeah, yeah. So as a graduate student, so I was first connected to Dr. Stanton. I met her, and she was telling me about Project SOAR and was showing me some of the art that you were having designed for the advertising and the flyers for Project SOAR, and was, you know, and essentially at the time, this was the way I was thinking of it. This was an interview. She was seeing if I might be a good fit for the team, and so I came in with interest and excitement, but very much like thinking from the beginning, like Dr. Stanton and Reverend Tammie, they are so knowledgeable, and I just really hope that I can just be a little sponge in the room. That was really where I was. They just be a little sponge in the room, and so I don't know if you remember this, Reverend Tammie, but when we first, like our first few meetings, I was very quiet. Now you know me, I'm not very quiet, but I remember there would be times where you'd say, "And Kim, what do you think?" And I would be like, blink, blink, blink. Like, sounds good, you know? And you're like, no. What do you think? You know, what is your opinion on this? I was like, so it took me a while to sort of be like, to realize, because, you know, I think sometimes coming into a new space, a project, this was something that was already going, and ideas that were already, you know, going and established. I was thinking, I'm here to serve. I'm here to learn. And it took me a minute to sort of be like, oh, like they want to hear my voice. They actually, this is a conversation, these meetings, you know? So that was really beautiful in that. And I think coming in as a graduate student, I was like immediately sort of thrown into like literature. You know, Dr. Stanton was like, I want you to read these and I want you to categorize these articles. And I was like, okay, put my academic hat on. I'm ready to read. I love reading. And so I say that because coming into the gatherings, and Reverend Tammie knows, because I shared with her like in the moment, that I had this like overwhelming experience at the very first gathering where I was like, there is nothing I could have read in an article, that I could have read in an academic journal, that I could have read from a statistical analysis that would have given me the insight or the experience or the humbling or the connection that I had in these gatherings. Actually being in a space and hearing women and speaking with them and being able to look at one another. And I felt so humbled coming in, particularly because it wasn't all Black space, but I also was aware that I am not a breast cancer survivor.
Right.
So, you know, so I was thinking about that too, and had worked a lot with Reverend Tammie and Dr. Stanton and thinking about, you know, how to ensure that while we had, you know, questions and we had a protocol and, you know, and all these things sort of outlined, that it was not about, you know, us getting through questions. You know, it was, you know, it was really about hearing their stories. Right. And really being quiet, you know? And so that when I describe to people like my personal circle, like my family and my life after the gatherings, when I talked to my friends inside and outside of school about the gatherings, I talk about it in saying that it changed my life. Project SOAR changed my life, and the gathering specifically changed my life. It changed the way that, from a lot of different levels, like the way that I think about research. Yeah. Like, because for me, as a Black woman in academia, I've expressed to mentors, like, I don't want to be sitting in an ivory tower observing the people and trying to figure out solutions. That is not what I want to be doing. I don't think that that's beneficial to anybody, really.
No, it's not.
And so, but what I hadn't gotten the chance to do before this project was do research in a way that really was so community driven and interwoven in this way. You know, where it's not just like, oh, you know, we're considering the community, like, not, you know, not just that, but that it is being led and driven, and at every step, you know, things are a conversation all around the research and the community. And so the gatherings for me, like, it's been a privilege, really. And I've even had a conversation with fellow graduate students where they'll say, you know, do you sometimes just feel like your work is, you know, you're just staring at code, you're just analyzing data, and you're wondering, are you having any sort of impact in what you do? And I will just think immediately of this project, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't, because of this project, I don't have that feeling.
Sure.
I'm like, no, I feel like it's not, I can't, after actually meeting people and hearing their stories in person and looking at their faces, I can't now look at, even when I'm calculating the, you know, I can't look at it and just be like, oh yes, you know, just that's the number, and then just put it in the table. I told Dr. Stanton last week, I was like preparing a table for Project SOAR, and I was just like, I had to stop and be like, okay, you're getting emotional making this table. Just take, because I know who this is that I'm typing about, and I have to just take a moment. This is not okay, you know, so I have to check in with myself in that way too. So
the work is connecting in a way that it wouldn't connect otherwise. What's interesting, what Tammie was talking about last week that I loved, is she was like, if we get Project SOAR right, and it seems like we are getting Project SOAR right, that the way Project SOAR has been created, developed, researched, that is a model that we can use for everyone. If we get this right, you know, we can do the same sort of communal research for Native Americans, for women, for, you know, Latinx people at the border. You know, we can create community-based research projects. It doesn't all have to be X's and O's and numbers. It can be, you know, actual humanity. And so I think what you guys are doing and creating is a way for us to understand that we can impact people and also impact ourselves, so it doesn't seem so disconnected. You know, at the end of the day, the people doing research are humans. You know, we're not all just mindless computers, you know, so I think it's so important, the work that Project SOAR is doing, because it's a model that you can take and utilize, like you said, for other research projects and other things. I think it's so important.
Well, and that was the entire intent for Project SOAR. You know, we talked last week with Dr. Stanton about her being a white woman, and me just saying to her that, you know, you can't come in the room because it's going to change those power dynamics. And so, Kim, you're right. Yes, you were being interviewed for this position, and we were developing our relationship even further. Even though Dr. Stanton and I had been working together for a year, by the time you joined the team, we still were figuring out what our protocols were going to look like. And I was insistent, as a breast cancer patient, as a breast cancer survivor, as a patient that has done a clinical trial, as a a founder and businesswoman who's done other community academic or academic community partnerships where they flopped because the ivory tower won and it became still, and the women there was no connection. And it's one of the things that I talk about on a regular basis when all of these people, you know, Black right now is the flavor of the month, right? So everybody so Black. I'm going to keep saying it and keep saying it. You know, I think I said it last week that American Cancer Society is running so many commercials with Black people on it. I'm wondering, do they still serve white people? Because I never seen so many Black people in their ads. Right. And so since we're the flavor of the month, everybody is coming and trying to partner, but everybody wants to be further down the road than they are. And one of the things we have done with Project SOAR is make sure that we connect first as humans. So for 4 solid years, before every meeting, we connect. Everybody does a check-in. And, you know, before we had to start splitting off and doing this coding situation, and then we do a checkout every meeting because we are dealing with people's lives. And we made a commitment to them to share their stories from their perspective. And so if we are not connected, you know, Kim and I, you know, we're in the room where it happened, but Kim and I, you already knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming at some point. I did.
You knew. But because Kim and I were in the room with those women, anytime we engage their stories, it impacts us. You know, so being connected beyond the work is kind of my motto. You know, you have to understand, Kathleen, you know, you work with us. It's always about the women. Everything we do, it is about the women, period. And then it's the work. Yeah. Because without them, there's no us.
Well, yeah, I mean, the work is for them. So it would have to be the women first because everything we do is for them. You know?
It doesn't have to be. There are a lot of organizations out there where it's not, the women aren't first.
You're right. You're right about that.
So it doesn't have to be. What it has to be is a choice. And that is the choice that we have made. You know, we're not perfect. We fail. We women fall through the cracks. You know, we don't get it right all the time. But that is not where our heart lies, and that's not where our intention lies. And so I don't want to go too far down the road because time goes by so quickly without inviting women. If you are a breast cancer survivor, you identify as a Black woman, you are age 21 or over, you live in the United States, you have been diagnosed with breast cancer, you can read and write in English. We need you to join us in making history. When we began this project, there was no projects out there that were looking at the strong Black woman concept as it relates to Black women diagnosed with breast cancer. So help us, join us. We're going to make history regardless, but we want you to be part of this historical moment that we are allowing Black women to share their stories from their experiences and perspectives. We want your voices heard. So please, please, please join us. I think we have the Carrie's Touch link. So if you go to www.carriestouch.org, then click on Project SOAR. The link is right there. Like I said last week, grab your favorite blankie, get in your favorite chair, grab your favorite beverage, and plan to spend a little bit of time with us. You know, some people have taken it as short, the survey as short as 35, 40 minutes, and some people have taken up to an hour to take the survey. But we invite you to join us, please.
And in that same conversation, of what you were saying, Tammie, and you said this last week so eloquently, and so I'd like to hear it from Kim, and then of course hear it from you. Why this survey? Why share your story? Why be a part of this research? Why is this imperative? In the research that I've been doing in terms of breast cancer and how it affects Black women, I feel like I've been finding all these stories about generations of women having breast cancer and no one in the family discussing it, right? No one talking about it, no one unpacking it. And so there is this, suffer in silence, I've got this, this whole thing, or, where you kind of, we as Black women, we keep what we have to handle by ourselves. Why share it? Why put it on Front Street, as some people would say? And, I have moms and aunties and, and family members where it's like, people don't need to know all that. It's between me and our family. We don't have to be telling everyone that I have breast cancer, that I have lupus, or that, it's like I'm fine, and I don't need all that. Why are we,
what goes on in this house stays in this house?
Yes, very much. Why are we combating that? Why are we shifting that? And why is that important? Why tell your story, and why tell it within Project SOAR? And both of you guys can answer those questions.
After you, Kim.
Oh, me first. Okay.
I can go first, but I just want to give you space. I talk all the time.
I'll say that my personal take is that in thinking about where we started this conversation, thinking about like vulnerability, that there is so much empowerment, at least I found in my life, in being vulnerable. Sometimes when you're going through something, and maybe it is generational, maybe it is something you learned in your family, maybe it's cultural, that you say, you know what, I don't have to talk about this, I can handle it, I can deal with it. But I think part of the power of Project SOAR is recognizing that everybody's story is unique. Everybody's voice is so important. And it's important that we speak. I've heard people categorize things sometimes as saying like, oh, it's like we have to give a voice to the voiceless. And I always felt a little like when I would hear that, because I was like, I don't think people are voiceless. I think people don't listen. People have things to say. Sure. People have perspectives and experiences, but it's that vulnerability piece. So I think there's power in sharing your individual and unique experiences. And then there's also power in knowing that other people are going through things similar. Yeah. That your own experience is unique, but that there are other people who are dealing with problems such as yours too. I feel like can be really, really empowering. And we saw that in the gatherings themselves, that it was this community of women at each gathering that were able to connect to one another, not just share their stories with us, share their stories with one another. Right. Right. And I think one of the critical pieces about Project SOAR in being that it is, this partnership, right? This research partnership is that this is not the type of project where you're going to share your story with us, become vulnerable with us, and then we're going to say thanks and bye-bye. Sure. Right? That's not where we're at, right? And you're going to go, I don't know what happened to that. I took this survey one time and I don't know what happened. Right. That's not where we're at. Our goal is, one, for you to be able to know what it is that we are doing, what it is that we find, what are the things that are emerging from the stories that you're sharing, all in confidentiality, we're not going to be blasting nobody, but with allowing the work that we do to come back to the community, for you to share with us and for us to share with you. Yeah. And so I think about that as being powerful too, this relationship that we're building. And I also think it's important, part of the problem, in staying silent is that then people can walk around like things are not going on.
Yeah.
People can walk around and act like they don't know what you're talking about, or none of this is real.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and I've been thinking about that a lot in just the world right now.
Yeah.
And also my own, you know, research is the ways in which people will look at things and have such different perspectives, such different almost realities of what is going on.
Sure.
And I think, you know, privilege has a lot to do with that, and sort of the blinders that it can put on people. But by not speaking your truth, sometimes I feel like it almost facilitates that privilege. It facilitates the like ability for people to say, oh, that's not, I don't even know it exists. Nobody talks about it. So I can just act like, you know? And so I think, you know, it's always like it's a personal choice. Right. And I think that's the other thing with Project SOAR. We are asking for your truth, for you to share your reality. You don't have to. At any point in the survey, you could say, I'm not really comfortable sharing that with you people. And not, right? These are all choices, but I think it can be, you know, cathartic, and to release and let people know. I know in some of the hardest moments of my life dealing with loss, I talked about my auntie, like sometimes it did feel like this is just me. I am by myself. I am alone, you know, and it took for me to actually speak to other people, both in my family and outside, that were also dealing with loss, to go, we're all dealing with this. We're all dealing with this in a different way. And so, and I think of it, I think of Project SOAR as a person who loves to write and who loves to journal, as a way to, and I also think about this project as very much like a FUBU kind of a project. So, you know, a way to, you know, like you're actually like seeing who we are. Like, you know, it's not something going into the void, right? But like, I just want to say that, like, please be rest assured that we value whatever you choose to share so much.
Yeah.
There's so much. And being able to, I think there's also value in being able to see, you know, that sometimes this really awful thing that happened one time, wait a minute, it happened to you and you and you, and hold on. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I think a survey allows as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's such power in what you just said, Kim, about when you say it, it's real. And it's not just something that, you know, what we found in the Me Too movement, which was started by a Black woman, what we found is when we said it, it ignited and shit started moving. Excuse my language, but things started moving because we said this happened. It's not a joke. And the surprise in people, like, oh, I didn't even know it's like 1 in 3 women. Did you think these women didn't exist? Yes, it's your auntie. Yes, it's your cousin. Yes, it's your sister. Yes, it's your wife. You know, and I feel like the power behind that also resonates in Project SOAR. If we say something, it's real. If this disease is killing whole families and we're not talking about it, then it's like, oh, she just died. You find it at the funeral, she died of breast cancer. When my mom just died of breast cancer, you know, the importance of it is when we say it, it's real. And I'm so glad you said that, because there is power in us saying, yeah, it happened and I don't want it to happen again. Now, what are we going to do about it? You know, that's,
you know, if I just jump in here really quickly at just, you know, having done this work specifically for 14 years, what I will say is, quite often, because we've never been given space, permission, or having protection, you know, once we're vulnerable, we don't even know until we're in that space. Kim, how many times did we hear women say, you know, in this very moment, I'm realizing ABC, XYZ, or, oh, I didn't even realize that until right now, or I've never said this before. So they don't even know what the response is. And in their defense, in this context, I will say, Kathleen, you just said something very poignant. I will say that because quite frequently in the Black community, we don't find out until Big Mama died and what Big Mama died of until we're at her funeral. So it subliminally sends that message that, oh, cancer, death sentence, done with it. So we don't even talk about it. We're not going to go. How many women do I counsel who try to talk to their families? And if these women decide to shed a tear, their family is like, oh, don't do that. Be strong, be strong. Sure. And what's even worse is Christians. Oh, yeah. Nobody can handle it. It's you. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And the Lord doesn't give this, and the Lord, and the Lord, and the Lord. And I'm going to go sit down and shut up. It's really where I am, and I'm a preacher. You know, but because there's no space for women to share on this level, you know, and I'm only talking about, you know, no, I'm not only talking about breast cancer, because we could really look at any disease, or as we discussed in our training this past weekend, dis-ease, right? And apply the same principle. You just talked about it with the Me Too movement. We just talked about it, right? We can talk about it from sexism to racism to body shaming to you name it.
Yeah.
And until we
silence is helping it perpetuate. Yeah.
Absolutely. The silence is helping perpetuate it, but because there's nobody that says, hey sis, you know what? It's okay. I don't know if you're gonna die or not, but what I do know is I'm here with you. Yeah. And I have a shoulder for you to lean on. I have $5 extra that you can have. You need some paper plates? No problem. I'll bring them to you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that to the conversation, because I don't want the conversation to go and it's just one-sided, because, you know, we are multifaceted people. And this topic, this discussion is, it's deep. And it goes on so many, you know, we're not even talking about PTSD. We're not talking about childhood traumas. We're not talking about people living in domestic violence situations.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
We come to this table already at a deficit. And Carrie's Touch and Project SOAR is trying to say, sis, come on in.
Yeah.
I see you, I love you, and I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful work. Powerful work. And, you know, like you said, we're over here with one corner of a major problem with women of color. You know, we're over here like, all right, we got breast cancer. Somebody else grabbed domestic violence. Somebody else grabbed, you know, it's like, we're just over here, you know. We're
look at women. I have met so many women who have breast cancer and who have also lost children. Right. It's like, you know, we were diagnosed with breast cancer and it's like, oh my gosh, that's the biggest mountain. And then we lose children. Woo. I've met so many. It's not uncommon.
Wow.
But because that is such a sensitive topic, I rarely even bring it out, because I know that I still have to manage my own emotions and feelings. So I'm not ready to start counseling women with that dual trauma and who are battling PTSD around those two extreme traumas.
Can we talk for a second about a topic that you have coined, Reverend Tammie, toxic strength? And I just want to unpack that for a minute in terms of Project SOAR and what we've been talking about silence and stuff like that. What is toxic strength, and what the hell can we do about it?
Right. So toxic strength, by definition, really is the understanding that people of a certain ethnic background who have endured an insurmountable amount of hardships can withstand just, you know, unlimited pain. If we even look at women in childbirth, and Black women who are dying in childbirth unnecessarily, and partly because people think that because we present well, that we don't have pain, but we have been socialized and conditioned to show up immaculately regardless of whatever's going on in our lives. And so then people don't really understand. I was told frequently, you don't look like you have cancer. I'm bald. I don't have no eyelashes. My fingernails are blue. What do you mean I don't look like it? You know, but it's because of the way we present ourselves. And then we decide to, you know, bring home the bacon fried up in the pan, do whatever we're going to do with our man and our kids, and on this committee, and serving at church and doing this and working late. And if there's a project to be completed and it's not done, they call on us and we do it. And, you know, we are known as being the cleanup women, Black women are the cleanup woman. We get a mess and then they bring the Black woman in to clean it up, and then they take it from her.
Sure.
Right. And so toxic strength is wearing that cape like it's a badge of honor when we are hurting. I say toxic strength is trying to be all things to all people all the time perfectly while suffering alone in silence.
Oof.
And so I am suggesting that we take off that cape of false strength and instead wrap it around us like a blanket and get some self-care and start loving ourselves back to life. We have to show up first in our own lives before we can even ask somebody else to show up, because we don't know how to tell them what we want. I tell women that, you know, I talked to a sister the other day. She said, I'm just so sick of people calling me, asking me what I need. I said, you want me to tell you how to get them to stop? She said, absolutely. I said, tell them what you need. Most people are a one and done. Create a list, a grocery list of whatever list you need, and don't go buy anything. And when Sister So-and-so calls you and says, hey, Hattie Mae, what do you need? Say, oh, girl, I need some toilet paper.
Yeah.
Most people are one and done. But talking about vulnerability, we don't want to tell anybody we need anything. And toxic strength is needing something and we won't tell anybody. But we look good.
But we look good.
We look good. We show up good, you know?
We look good. And this is I guess a question for both of you. Kimberly, you doing this research, and Tammie, you doing all the work you've been doing with Carrie's Touch for so many years. I'm listening to this broadcast right now. What is one thing I can do to start kind of breaking down that cape and that mindset of toxic strength? I don't want to do that anymore. Or maybe I don't even really know if I want to do that anymore, but maybe I want to explore it. What's a tip? What's one thing I can do, you know, to start combating my toxic strength?
Do you want to go, Kim, or you want me to go?
I want you to go first.
One thing I would say, the first thing is be honest with yourself. Look in the mirror and say it to yourself first. Ask yourself the question, sis, what do you need? And look at yourself in the mirror and then answer the question for yourself.
I like that.
I think, and really going off of what Reverend Tammie just said, I think in addition to being honest, just then let it go, you know, like allow yourself to be honest with yourself and then to really breathe if at all possible. I feel like I've been thinking about different moments in my life lately as like moments where I was able to really take a full inhale and a full exhale. And I didn't realize before that I was breathing in a really shallow way until I was able to take a deep breath. And sometimes that honesty with yourself can allow you the breath, And when you're, you know, when like Reverend Tammie was saying, when you are being all things to all people all the time, you run out of breath. You know, you just, it's can be exhausting. Yeah. And so giving yourself a beat, not feeling guilty around giving yourself your moments that you need to breathe.
Yeah.
If I were to bring this whole one thing full circle, you know, it's being honest, then it's being, then it's giving yourself the space to breathe, and give yourself permission to cry. It's okay.
Yeah. I was just about to say that, Tammie. I was just about to say that. I was about to say that.
Okay.
No, I love that I love that we're on the same wavelength, because I was going to share that in lieu of how I had a huge cry on Saturday. Massive cry on Saturday, because I'm trying to finish a book, Kimberly. And I've been trying to finish a book, and I'm also trying to move more because it's quarantine and no one's moving. I can feel my body literally saying, you gotta move, Kathleen. You gotta. This is ridiculous. So I've been trying to move more, but in adding these things to my life, these orderly things, my therapist, I'm also going to therapy now. My therapist was like, you know, you have to look at it like you're learning to walk. Because I feel like since I've been trying to add order to my life, it feels out of control. It's just chaos. And it's not chaos. You're just trying to learn how to walk. And when Bambi first learns how to walk, it looks like a hot mess. Right. I don't know what I'm doing. So it's like, I feel like as I'm trying to add order and discipline and some structure to my life, I'm like, I am falling the fuck apart. But I'm not. I'm just working on it. And so I was talking to my therapist. And then on Sunday, I decided to go to virtual church. And I swear to God, I haven't been to virtual church in forever. I went to virtual church, and the first song that came on, which wasn't like a high worship song, it was just like, you know, a normal, hey, let's get everybody in the mood kind of song. I like lost it. And I cried the entire virtual service. Not a gentle, cute tear, but like, like the most
Yay!
But I feel like it was an acknowledgement that, you know, you're doing good, Kathleen, but you're really tired, and that's okay. You know, just let it out. And I felt like I really needed that. I have no idea why I decided to go to virtual church, but I do feel like that cry prepared me for this week, and I've had a really good week. You know, like really just kind of acknowledging you need to cry. You need to be vulnerable, and you need to be okay with the fact that you're trying, and it's not looking as, you know, structured as you want it to be, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you're not forcing yourself into the box of perfection.
Yes.
You're letting it be it's ugly, nasty, messy, beautiful masterpiece that, you know, I also think about Wabi Sabi, you know, finding beauty in the broken.
Yeah.
And that is exactly, you know, what life is.
Yeah.
We give ourselves permission and space to not be perfect. You know, I was just going to say really quick, if you go to, you know, on our Carrie's Touch website, we have our culture credo. And in there we say, tears are welcomed, happy, angry, empathetic, peaceful, encouraging, forgiving, accepting, supportive, overcoming, tears, no apologizing for tears ever. We have plenty of Kleenex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say being imperfect and crying unapologetically.
Yes, unapologetic.
I feel like it's so common that you, like, especially if you're crying with others, that you start to shed a tear and you say, oh, I'm sorry. And I remember having a dance teacher in college who I was talking to her. I was going through some things, and she was one of those dance teachers. I was like, then just feel it, put it in your body, release it. And I was like, I need to do this. And I started crying. I said, I'm so sorry. She said, don't apologize to me. She's like, no, get it out.
Yeah.
Why? And I was like, oh, nobody's ever said that. Normally when I say, I'm sorry, people just look at you like, yeah. Sometimes
you should be. Yeah.
or they don't say anything, which just allows all the thoughts in your mind to swirl. Like, oh my gosh, I just cried in front of everybody. But crying both by yourself and with others, unapologetically.
And Kim,
no reason to be sorry for it.
Can you not attest to the fact that that is the culture of Project SOAR? I'm talking about on the back end, just with us doing our stuff.
Yeah,
that is the culture of Project SOAR for our team.
Absolutely.
We don't know, and we don't care what's happening. If one of our team members needs a moment, we are all in. And what we talked about it last week, but what I love about our team is the diversity in our team, and everybody has a voice. Even our newest team member that's only about a month in, Kim, maybe a month and a half in, she has a voice on the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I love one of the comments that we had here were tears of liberation. And it really is, it took me a while to understand. Because I'm a person who cries very easily. And I think around 13 or 14, I was like, I'm tired of this shit. All I do is cry. It was really annoying. And so I started doing things to avoid crying, I have all these little tricks to avoid it just because I found it exhausting, and I would cry for hours. It was just it took time out of my day. And so it took me a while. I think adulthood is when I started realizing that tears can be freeing. They are liberating, and it does open up all these doors, because it's once you let it out, even if it takes a couple of hours, you can go on with your day. You do feel better, and it does work itself out, even though that cry tuckered you out and you might have to go take a nap. When you get up, you'll be better. I just always wish I could have one tiny tear, like an elegant tear, but my tears don't do that. My tears take over my whole body, and I'm
right.
It's a lot. So I'm learning to accept the crying part of Kathleen, even though it is an exhausting part of Kathleen, because it is liberating. It is liberating.
Absolutely.
And it's
and not editing yourself. I like that. Often we're editing what we do before we do it. And then we don't even know what we're capable of doing because we've been editing ourselves before we start to do things.
Yes.
Right.
And I think about this even sometimes in writing, when I'm even writing, thinking ideas for Project SOAR, sometimes I have to just recognize the emotions that I'm in. Maybe I am so upset. I'm so upset with what has happened to our community. I'm so upset that people that I now have connected to and care for so deeply have experienced this, and I'm like, this isn't about me. I'm editing. This isn't about me. I'm writing about them. This isn't about my feelings, my anger, and my being upset and my tears. But I have to recognize that even when I start writing, I just write. I just put it on the page. Because if I start off by saying, well, don't say that. Well, don't feel that way. Well, don't do that thing. You can always edit later when you're writing. but I feel like, I haven't lived a long life yet, but I can't imagine, even at this point now, looking back and thinking, I wish I wouldn't. I don't want to have the regrets of I wish I would have. Right? I wish I would have done the thing. I wish I would have cried the tears. I wish I would have expressed how I felt in that moment,
Yeah.
So,
just not editing yourself.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way of putting that. Not editing yourself.
Yeah. Not.
And the momentum you get as a person who's finishing my book, I had stopped editing because I was trying to get to a deadline. I'm trying to get to the end of 2020 with the book completed. And I was talking to my writing coach, and I was like, she edits every chapter I do. And so I said, if you see I'm not editing your edits anymore, she said, yeah, I'm so glad you stopped. She said, because you're more. She said, you just going back and looking at every little thing I write. She was like, just stop. She said, you go and I will follow you. And it was just such a powerful thing to hear her say, you flow, I'm right behind you. Just go.
Right.
You know, keep going in that direction. Stop looking back. We'll get to that. Just go. And I was like, okay, you know, and I just feel like it's such a thing that you can say for your life. Stop editing. Stop trying to just go and see what happens. You know, and if you have to stop to cry your eyes out.
But that's also part of the self-care, you know, once we take off the cape of toxic strength and put on the blanket of self-care.
Which I love that visual, by the way. I love that.
Yeah. But it is allowing others to help us. You know, it's one thing to say we need help. It's another thing to ask for help. And it's yet another thing to allow others to help us. I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try something, see if it works. We're going to see.
I'm scared.
I know, right? Nope, it's not. I don't know how to do it, so I'm not going to make Josh crazy. Wait. I might be able to get it. Nope. Let's see. No, I don't know how to do it. I was going to show you a graphic of this Superwoman, the toxic strength cape, and then the blanket of self-care. But it really is allowing others to help us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's exactly what you did with your writing coach. You know, she said, hey, you've hired me to help you, and you keep hurting me, and you keep doing my job. You do your part and let me do what you've hired me to do. Why is Josh the best?
Josh is the best.
So Josh, can you blow it up to the bottom right corner? Oh, nice swirly.
There we go.
Right. So there we go. And what I love about this graphic is that our sisters, they got on earrings and everything. But you know, there it is, you know, stress, lack of resources, and oppression. It affects our health, suffering without complaint, self-sacrificing caregivers. We will help any and everybody, and we will need what we need. Whew. And be like, I'm dead dog tired. I know it's 2 o'clock in the morning, but you need a shoulder for somebody to cry on. And we'll put that cape on in a heartbeat. And I have learned to say, no, I took that cape off and put it as a blanket around me for self-care.
I love it. Thank you, Josh. Josh is our back-end tech guy making things happen. He's amazing.
He's amazing.
What I was going to say, we only have a couple minutes left, what I was going to say is, speaking as a person who has worn that cape proudly, and I'm just now dealing with my my savior syndrome, my savior complex. I try to save everybody. I think another thing that we do as Black women is we absolutely try to wear the cape to obfuscate all the stuff going on in here. So if the cape is big enough, right, we can cover all the mess. And you don't have to deal with it because you have to do stuff at church, or you have to deal with this with your kids, or you got to do this at work, and you get so busy that you don't have time to worry about yourself. So I know some of it, at least I can speak for myself, is intentional, right? I wear the cape so you can't see that I too am a mess, and I too have stuff that I need to work on. And so I don't have time to work on me. I'm too busy working on you and helping you on, and you know, doing this and working on your project and this and this. And so I never get to work on my own projects. I never get to build myself up, and I never get to take care of myself because I'm just too busy. So I mean, that cape can absolutely be a trap. You know, we do that all the time. Speaking for myself personally, I know I do that.
Oh, hey, listen, what I will say is I am a recovering toxic strength addict. I'll say that, you know, because that's where I got it from. You know, and we only have a couple minutes, so I'm not going to go into that, but that's where I got it from. Kathleen, I do want you to, if you are ready, to have us do just kind of bring it all back and do a rapid fire round so we can end in a nice, pretty bow. See there? See there? But I just don't want, I just don't want to go, but if that's the way today ends, that's the way it ends, you know, editing. We are not editing.
We're not editing. We're not editing. I would just like each of you guys, if we can bring it back, each of you guys to challenge our listeners today. And if you could give our listeners one thing to do, and that can be about vulnerability, it can be about toxic strength, it can be about Project SOAR, one thing for our listeners to do for themselves this week, what would that be?
Kim, you go.
Okay. I kept thinking about, as we've been having this conversation, I identify as a recovering perfectionist. And I have spent some time thinking about why, and this makes me think about the cape that we were just talking about. Why do I feel that I have to be perfect? Who told me that perfection was even a possibility?
Sure.
Nothing is perfect. Nobody is. But why do I feel that? Why do I have this in my head that I got to figure this out? I got to know the answers. I have to do this and that. And I've had people in my life who have checked me and said, I'm sorry, why do you have to have that all figured out? And then it's like, I don't know why I think that. And so my challenge to our listeners is to spend some, whatever those things are. For some of us, it's perfectionism. For some of us, it's toxic strength. Thinking about spend some time just meditating on, envisioning how the world would not fall apart if you admit to yourself that you're not perfect. And that failure is beautiful. And how much you learn from that. What do we learn from perfection? I don't know, because it doesn't exist. But just, yeah, that's my challenge. Just instead of thinking about how things might go wrong. Oh, if I don't do this will go. So I have to make sure I got plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. I'm speaking to myself here. This is how, think about how so much of this, and especially now in our lives in general, I mean, just in general, but particularly now in COVID, so much is just out of control. Right? So what does it look like to just let go and not try to control it? That's
I love that.
Woo. Kim. Y'all see why I love her? When Kim came on the project, Kim was pretty new as a PhD student. And what I learned was that she was only going to be with us like semester by semester. And after the end of her first year, Kim said, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to work on the project anymore because I don't know what my requirements are going to be next semester. Y'all, let me tell you, if I ain't ever prayed so hard, I said, Lord, look, I don't want no problems. I need Kimberly Martin on this project. And it's true that I am still figuring out ways to keep her connected to this project. She is amazing. Thank you, Kim. I'm going to bring it back to Project SOAR because that is the impetus of why we are here. Yes. And so the greatest challenge that I would have for any of our listeners, male, female, black, white, whatever your ethnic makeup is, if you are not a Black woman, to tell the Black women in your life who have been diagnosed with breast cancer about Project SOAR and encourage them to join us in making history.
Yes,
if you're a Black woman diagnosed with breast cancer, join us. Join us in making history. We are truly working to shift the paradigm because I contend that if you make breast cancer better for Black women, by default, you're going to make breast cancer better for all women.
I love that. I love that. I guess that is it. We have to wrap as it has been an hour. It always goes so fast. Kimberly Martin, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure speaking to you. and getting to know you this past hour. Tammie, you're already lit. You know that. You stay great.
And so are you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
everyone.
you, Kathleen.
I'm sorry?
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you. I always feel honored to step into the space, very much like Kimberly said. I'm not a survivor, and so it's always an honor anytime I can come in to this space and talk about these things, because it really is a powerful and necessary conversation. And all the work Carrie's Touch is doing, UCLA is doing. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Tammie, and thank you to your entire team for creating this new groundbreaking, one-of-a-kind research project. It's so amazing. And until then, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to take off those capes, make them as blankets, remove that toxic strength, and reimagine your strength, ladies. Reimagine your strength. Have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much. Bye.